Chapter 24:18. Boom boom boom. A sudden explosion shook the heavens and the earth. Where the Emperor Ghost Army was stationed, a crimson ball of fire burned without restraint. Smoke that was dozens of meters high covered the sky, turning the blue sky black. The surrounding Emperor Ghost Army was burned to ashes. Those who didn't know would think that the end of the world had come. What's the situation? Did someone launch a sneak attack? Akira Hines, who was in the middle of brainwashing Yuichiro, was also shocked. Her heart sank. Such a violent explosion might even flatten the city walls that were used to fend off the vampires. Buzz buzz buzz. At the same time, the rumbling sound of machines came from the void, as if demons had descended. It lingered in the air for a long time, and as time passed, the sound became louder and more frequent. This is bad. The faces of the King Ghost Army, who had been fighting vampires all year round, changed. They hurriedly dropped what they were doing and gathered their ghost curse weapons. The veterans all knew that the vampires had launched a large-scale attack. The buzzing sound came from the helicopter propellers. Damn it, who could be so generous? Ike's Honglian leaned against the window and stared at the densely packed number of helicopters in the distance. Her heart was at its limit. She was 100% certain that this was the final battle between the vampires and the vampires. There were at least several hundred helicopters gathered here. Ever since Dustless had destroyed most of the primogenitors, all the resources had fallen into Kellula's hands. She was able to mobilize more troops and resources. After all, she was the only primogenitor left. You don't regret it? In one of the most luxurious helicopters, Dustless stood in front of the window, looking down at the Emperor Ghost Army that had been attacked by the flames of war on the ground. His eyes were cold. Krulu stood beside him. She was the one who asked the question. Regret? Dustless murmured thoughtfully. Then he asked slowly, You think that since I'm also a human, if I kill all the Emperor Ghost Army, the human race will also perish? Not bad. Krulu nodded. At that time, you might become the last human in this world. Wouldn't that be very lonely? So what? Dustless's reply was quick and decisive. His eyes were glittering, as if he did not want to die. His tone suddenly became weathered. What does the life and death of the people have to do with me? All I did was destroy the Supreme Ghost Army. If the human race perishes, I won't meddle in other people's business. I'm not a racist. Of course I know you're not a racist. Otherwise we vampires would have been done for. Crew had no doubts about Dustless's strength. He alone was enough to destroy all the vampires. Let's go down and take a look. Dustless directly smashed the glass with his fist and jumped down from a height of over 100 meters, followed by Krulu. Kill all humans. Destroy the vampires. The two completely different races were at each other's throats. Neither side would let the other go. No matter which side lost, the final outcome would be a massacre. Pucci! 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 As time passed, more and more vampires were turned into ashes. The winning side gradually became clear. The scales of victory were tilted toward the humans. Most of the humans were encouraged and focused on the battle, hoping to lead to the day of light as soon as possible. Of course, there were some people who saw something unusual. How strange. Why did the vampire nobles all disappear? Jun Yuefeng and Zhao Nu frowned. They had been lucky enough to fight against the nobles. They knew very well that the vampires' top forces had not appeared. So far, the ones that appeared were just small fries. The reason is simple. It's because the nobles are all dead. Behind the two's backs, there was a movement without any warning. Moon Jun Shifeng and Zhao Nu were both greatly shocked. Their current strength could be considered to have made some small achievements. Just who was it that could appear so silently? So it's you. Turning their heads, the two immediately saw Dustless and Crew. Yo. The two of you, how have you been? Dustless smiled and raised his hand to greet them. Those who did not know might really think that they were friends meeting. I can't wait to eat your flesh and drink your blood. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn red. Jun Yuefeng gritted his teeth and stared at Dustless. His hands that were holding onto his blade were trembling. Kid, you still haven't realized? Dustless sighed and said with pity, The one who used you is Isis Coram. Your sister is still being locked up by him for all kinds of crazy human experiments. Don't try to drive a wedge between us. Do you think I'm an idiot? No, let's go together and destroy this guy. Jun Yuefeng obviously did not want to listen to Dustless's nonsense. He held onto his blade and rushed forward. Swish, swish, swish. Zhao Nu and Nu also pulled their bowstrings. A few powerful arrows pierced through the void and headed straight for Dustless's head. Playing with fire will get you burned. Dustless withdrew the pity on his face. Since they wanted to die, he would fulfill their wish. He immediately formed a hand seal. Fire release. Grand fire annihilation. Boom, boom, boom. A vast sea of fire was blown out from Wu Chen's mouth. The surrounding temperature instantly increased by dozens of times. A large area of crimson flames crushed towards Jun Yuesher's side. The diameter of the flames was at least 20 to 30 meters. Everything was burned into ashes and scattered ashes. Ah! All of this happened too suddenly. By the time he realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. Jun Yuefeng's entire body was engulfed by the flames. His entire body was set on fire. His entire body was charred black. The smell of charred corpse was nauseating. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus more chapters, 3,000 rewards plus more chapters, 1,000 rating plus more chapters, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more chapters. Chapter 24:19. Jun Yu. Witnessing Moon Lord Jun being burned alive into a dried corpse, Zhao Nu and Yi's faces were covered in tears. Their eyes stared blankly at the charred corpse that was burnt beyond recognition. Their eyes were dull, as if their souls had been taken away. Don't be so sad. You can go accompany him soon. Dustless brushed past Zhao Nu. This kid had already lost his will to fight. Killing him would be boring. Kululu, I'll leave this kid to you. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Kululu rushed out at full speed and disappeared in an instant. Ka. His slender white hand wrapped around Zhao Nu's neck and suddenly twisted in the opposite direction. With a ka sound, he easily broke Zhao Nu's neck and silently ended his life. Seriously, this group of minions also came out to play dumb. Dustless couldn't help but sigh as he lowered his head and stared at Zhao Nu's corpse. Play dumb? Hearing this, Kululu's face was conflicted and he was speechless. So in Dustless's eyes, other people's battles were purely playing dumb. This was too much of a blow to him. What do we do next? Kululu asked respectfully. In his heart, he had already treated Dustless as a boss and listened to his every word. What do we do? It's very simple. Just kill them all. Dustless answered casually. This simple sentence determined the fate of all the Emperor Ghost Army. Only death awaited them. I understand. Kululu didn't ask any more questions. When he saw that there were more Emperor Ghost Army, he decisively pounced over. Ah! Aren't you afraid that your bodyguards are gone? We brought our trump card here. You alone might die without a burial ground. This sudden voice was extremely cold and his tone was as cold as ice. At the same time, when he mentioned Dustless, it was filled with deep hatred. Do I still need bodyguards? What a joke. You yourself said that you might kill me. Actually, you don't have the confidence either. Dustless shifted his gaze and observed the figures from the corner of his eyes. He said indifferently, the actors are all here. That's right, we're all here. The show is about to begin. Ines Honglian pulled out the ghost curse equipment in her hand. Beside her was Yuichiro Hayakuya and the other containers controlled by the Royal Ghost Army. What a mistake it was to kill Jimu. Did you inherit his entire inheritance? Dustless's eyes flashed with a strange light. He couldn't help but take a few more glances at the rotten container. His eyes didn't move, as if there was some kind of treasure inside. His face flashed with a bright light and then he said, inside that is the thing with Yuichiro, right? She was Jun Yu Shifeng's younger sister. Jun Yu Wei Lai. Hearing this, Ike's Kariko's pupils shrank and she said in a gloomy voice, You know more than I expected. You even know about this. You just found out? You were too naive in the past. You thought that you could hide anything from me? Naive. Dustless's gaze swept past the container and Yuichiro Hayakuya. He then looked at Ike's Kariko and said, There are two seraphs of the end. Krulu will only be cannon fodder if he stays here. Kill you! Kill you! Kill you! Yuichiro Hayakuya's eyes were scarlet red. His entire body emitted an astonishing amount of killing intent. A bloody mist appeared behind him. He locked his gaze on Dustless, and the killing intent he emitted grew stronger. Is it because of Michael Hayakuya? Dustless looked at Yuichiro Hayakuya indifferently. That's right. I did kill that kid. His corpse was not even left. He was cut into pieces. Bastard, go to hell. Yuichiro Hayakuya rushed over. Even Ike's Kariko couldn't see his figure clearly. It was obvious that this kid had improved a lot. Of course, it could also be that after seeing Dustless, the strongest enemy in his life, Yuichiro Hayakuya's potential erupted. Bastard, you are too impulsive. Seeing this, Ike's Kariko cursed. She had told Yuichiro Hayakuya to follow the plan. Who would have thought that Dustless would go berserk? Go. Release the Seraph of the End. Helpless, Ike's Kariko could only give up on the plan and charge at Dustless with her katana. Creak. The container, which was covered with all sorts of talismans, was opened. An ominous aura immediately spread out. The King Ghost army could not help but tremble. Yuichiro, let's delay Dustless for a while. The Seraph still needs time to prepare. In order to fully awaken the Seraph of the End, there were still some prerequisites to be made. Unfortunately, Yuichiro Hayakuya's mind was consumed by hatred. He did not hear Ike's Kariko's words clearly. Dang! A sharp and dangerous cold light came at him. Dustless's head was about to be separated from his body. Even without Aijiramaru, Yuichiro Hayakuya had found a weapon that suited him. Aya. So scary. Seeing this, Dustless's calm face slightly loosened. It was as if he was really afraid and shocked. Only those who truly understood him knew that it was disdain. To deal with you, one hand is enough. Dustless did not waste any time and directly grabbed with his right hand. Pop! The dangerous and fatal katana slashed at Dustless's palm. The sharp blade that could cut through steel was useless. Dustless's palm did not bleed at all. Instead, he clenched his hand into a fist and suddenly grabbed the katana tightly. Let go of me! Yuichiro Hayakuya shouted angrily. He clenched his left hand into a fist and punched Dustless's cheek. Kid, don't get carried away. Dustless's eyes turned cold. He snorted and increased his strength slightly. The weapon in his hand exploded with a bang. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2420. Gulp. Witnessing Dustless's brutality, Hayakuya Yuichiro woke up from his rage. His eyes widened as he stared at the broken blade in disbelief. He was in a terrible state. Yuichiro, why are you still in a daze? Hurry up and back off. Haine Sakura hurriedly reminded him. Hayakuya Yuichiro was her most important trump card. She could not afford to lose him. However, the kid remained unmoved. His ears seemed to be stuffed with donkey hair. He did not hear a thing and continued to stare blankly. Buzz buzz buzz. Dustless's right leg was engulfed by a large amount of golden light. The blinding light made it impossible to open one's eyes. If one looked at it for a second longer, one would be blinded. Light speed kick. This time, Wu Chen didn't show any mercy. That dazzling light beam shot towards Yuichiro's body. Immediately, a destructive energy fluctuation exploded. Yuichiro's body trembled. Yuichiro's body trembled. Boom boom boom. The destructive shockwave was repelled. Hayakuya Yuichiro's body exploded. The blazing flames quickly evaporated the moisture in the air. The air suddenly became abnormally dry. Ah! Hayakuya Yuichiro was tormented by the flames. He howled in pain. His body was burned to pieces. Some of his organs had melted and evaporated. His hoarse scream conveyed a message. He regretted challenging Dustless. He regretted living in this world. There was no harm in trying to imagine a person being burned alive to the point that their body peeled off and their skin melted. What kind of painful experience was that? Gulp! Not to mention others, even Haine Sakura, who had seen many things and had a will of steel, felt her legs go soft when she saw such cruel torture. She could not help but take a step back. Haine Sakura's impression of Dustless changed. He was not a human. He was not a vampire. He was an evil pervert. Why are you distancing yourself from me? Dustless did not look at Hyakuya Yuichiro. In the end, he was just a chess piece. No matter how strong he was just a chess piece. And chess pieces were destined to be abandoned. Hearing those words, Ikane Sakura did not say anything. She could not stop herself from backing away. Every time Dustless took a step forward, she would have to take 5 to 6 steps back before she could feel safe. Looks like he's scared. Dustless smiled and said proudly, "Should I celebrate if I can scare someone like you?" After saying that, Dustless continued to leisurely approach Haine Sakatsuki. Unlike the nervous and frightened Haine Sakatsuki, Dustless appeared to be taking a leisurely stroll. "Don't come any closer." This was the first time in her life that she felt fear towards an enemy. "Honglian, don't be afraid. Leave it to me." Suddenly, an inexplicable voice rang out within her mind. The pleasant tone of the voice was soothing to the ears. It was like a miraculous elixir, brushing away the fear within her heart. "Leave it to me." The mysterious voice spoke up once more, and Ike's Honglian's eyes became incomparably vacant. She nodded her head gently like a zombie, and her consciousness fell into the bottomless abyss to be replaced by a brand new consciousness. I'm finally out for some fresh air." Ikane Sakatsuki, who was backing away, suddenly stopped. She rested her tachi on her shoulder and took a deep breath of air. Although this rotten air is nauseating, it sure is refreshing. "Is there a switch?" Dustless stopped as well. He noticed that Ikane Sakatsuki's eyes had changed. Previously they were pure black. Now, they were scarlet like a vampire's eyes. They were filled with all sorts of calamitous omens. "Aren't you going to introduce yourself?" "I am Miyamoto." Dustless's soft words caused Ikane Sakatsuki to frown. No, to be more precise, Miyamoto, who was controlling Ikane Sakatsuki's body, felt his heartstrings twitch. "Let's make a deal." Ikane Sakatsuki, who was controlled by Miyamoto, spoke up. "Let me go and this world. You are not qualified to make a deal with me." Without giving Miyamoto a chance to talk nonsense, Dustless said bluntly, "There are only 2 ways to deal with my enemies. Either they are chopped into pieces or they disappear without a trace. Little girl, seeing your sincerity, I will be merciful this time and choose a way for Ikane Sakatsuki to die." It's rare to see someone as arrogant as you. Miyamoto was not as angry as he imagined. Instead, he said in a light tone, "You have taken care of my sister for so long. I should at least say thank you before the battle." "You're welcome. It's just a spur-of-the-moment thing. Maybe this is fate," Dustless said. In the end, he shook his head and sighed. "However, I still lost her in the end. I hope his death can find her. Then I won't be polite." The moment his voice fell, Ikane Sakatsuki, who was controlled by Miyamoto, suddenly attacked. Her speed was not ordinary. A cold wind blew quietly, but Miyamoto arrived beside Dustless. His body seemed to be attached to the cold wind. He raised his hand and slashed. Bang! This slash, before it could get close to Dustless, was blocked by a special energy barrier. "This is..." Miyamoto squinted his beautiful eyes. He saw a substantial force shrouding Dustless, and his whole body was tightly defended. It was like drilling into an iron bucket with no blind spots. There were no loopholes in his body. With your strength, it's impossible to break Kinsusanu. You have to be 100 times stronger than you are now to break its invincible defense. Dustless kindly reminded Miyamoto of the strength needed to break Kinsusanu, but it sounded more like a blow to others. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24-21. You're right. I don't have the ability to deal with you, but... Lin Zhenzhou paused, and a confident smile appeared in his voice. You seem to have forgotten that the main force against you has never been me. Boom! The container prepared by the Emperor Ghost Army suddenly burst open, and a large number of chains came out of it. The front end was connected to a sharp dagger. These chains trembled unconsciously as if they were alive, which was extremely strange. Phew! The rotten chains shook unconsciously, and it didn't take long for them to show their ferocious nature, locking the surrounding life forms and stabbing them with great hunger. Pucci! 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 Whether it was the Emperor Ghost Army or the vampires, they were all the prey of these chains. They were pierced by the dense chains and devoured their blood. Playing this trick again? Dustless stared at the dilapidated container and sniffed twice, frowning. Such a disgusting smell. The last time Yuichiro Hayakuya went berserk, this smell was also the same. Are all angels so disgusting? Have you not bathed for many years? You, hearing this, Jin Jinzhou's mouth twitched a few times, showing a rare speechless expression. Your Excellency's thinking is really difficult for ordinary people to guess. Of course, after all, our realms are different, and our worldviews are too different. Dustless nodded. What the hell is this? The vampires and the Emperor Ghost Army stopped fighting. At this moment they were chased by those chains, their bodies were pierced by sharp daggers, the blood in their internal organs was hollowed out, and they became horrifying skin and bones. Humans! In the void there was a faint voice. Although it was very subtle, it really existed. Everyone heard it, and everyone looked around, looking for the source of the sound. However, this sound seemed to come from another space, and no one could find it, including Krulu, who was also at a loss. Pretending to be mysterious. Only Dustless looked at the container thoughtfully. Through the perception of observation hockey, he was clearly aware that some powerful creature in the container was waking up. Boom boom boom. A moment later, the container suddenly exploded into pieces. Then, a sacred light overflowed and spread to every corner of the world. Heavens, angel? Such a huge change attracted the attention of many people. Both the vampires and the Emperor Ghost Army noticed the mysterious girl standing in the void. She had a pair of sacred wings on her back, and strange purple patterns on both sides of her cheeks. Her eyes were emotionless, as if she was a god looking down on ants. There was only contempt in her eyes. This angel's appearance was that of Jun Yume's younger sister. Jun Yume. If that brat were to see his younger sister become a test subject, he would probably crawl out of his coffin and tear Issei's Korea apart. Humans who have violated the taboo should be destroyed. The angel incarnation of Jun Yume gloomily said. A golden horn suddenly appeared at her mouth. Without hesitation, she blew the music of destruction. Woo woo woo. The sound of the horn echoed throughout the world, and the earth shook with a ka-ka-ka sound. The surface of the earth quickly collapsed, and dense cracks gradually appeared. In the blink of an eye, the earth within a radius of a few kilometers was swallowed up. It was as if the end of the world had come. Pucci! 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 A large number of small mountains sprang out from the depths of the ground. Many vampires and the Emperor Ghost Army were pierced by this thing. Their bodies were chewed up and they died without a complete corpse. You're caught in a trap of your own making. Seeing this scene, Dustless didn't have the slightest pity. This thing was originally created by the Emperor Ghost Army. Now it's not wrong to suffer the wrath of an angel. And you too. His eyes moved and fell on Lin Zhenzhou, who controlled Issei's Korea's consciousness. The Emperor Ghost Army is all dead. You can't control the angel. At that time you will also be the target of this thing. So what? Lin Zhenzhou said indifferently. As long as Korea can survive, it doesn't matter even if the world experiences another destruction. The life and death of the people have nothing to do with me. Bang! At this moment, Jun Yue's body changed again. Her back suddenly exploded. Without warning, a blood-red unknown creature sprang out. Its entire body was stained with blood. Awoo! The hoarse cry of a beast resounded. Looking up, the thing that escaped from Jun Yue's body revealed its true appearance. It had turned into an ugly giant bug. Its hoarse roar was earth-shattering. A large number of mysterious spheres fell from this monster. The moment they fell to the ground, they all shattered with a crack sound. A dense swarm of bugs occupied the ground. Whether it was the Emperor Ghost Army or the vampires, they were all slaughtered. This is an angel? It's obviously a bug. Looking up at the void, Dustless discovered that this huge bug was several meters tall. Its mouth was full of fangs and its appearance was also extremely ugly. It was the type that one would never forget for the rest of their life. Hee, have fun with it. I'll take my leave first. Forgive me for not accompanying you. Lin Zhenzhou said and turned to leave. In just a few seconds, his figure had already faded. Did you turn a deaf ear to what I said before? Ice Ace Korea must die, including this so-called angel. No, it would be more appropriate to call it a bug. All of you will die. In front of me, there is no exception. Dustless said coldly. He looked up at the sky and smiled eerily at the so-called angel. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24-22. Get the hell down here. Dustless's eyes were deathly still. His large hand suddenly grabbed at the air, causing the horizon to tremble. 10,000 mammoth heavenly attraction. Boom boom boom. A boundless gravitational force erupted. Dustless's small hands were like the hands of God. No one could escape his judgment. Even the horizon was distorted, and the wind and clouds that gently swept past were pulled over. Under the dumbfounded gazes of countless people, the huge body of the huge bug that stood in the air began to tremble slowly. It even let out a series of bestial cries. Clearly, it could not escape the binding of the gravitational force. Monster. Monster. That huge bug is so powerful. That Dustless can actually forcefully pull it over? Those who knew Dustless were shocked. This scene was too shocking. That bug was unable to escape Dustless's judgment, even though it was dozens of meters away. That loud bestial cry sounded more like fear in everyone's eyes. It turned out that the so-called angels also had things that they were afraid of. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The ugly bug could not withstand the gravitational force of the 10,000 mammoth heavenly attraction. Finally, its huge body began to fall, rapidly falling towards Dustless's location. Good timing. Seeing this, Dustless grinned. His feet were firmly planted on the ground, and his legs were slightly bent, as if he was preparing to accumulate power. Bang! Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Following the sound of a red lotus, Dustless suddenly disappeared. His body shot straight into the sky like a rocket. The ground where he was previously standing had been completely destroyed, and a deep pit was formed. Light speed kick. Just as he was about to come into contact with the huge bug, Dustless raised his large foot and viciously kicked out. His destructive vision pounced on that ugly head. Boom boom boom. The instant the light-speed kick hit the bug, a destructive shockwave erupted. Half of its head was incinerated, and dark red blood flowed out from it. Oh! The huge bug seemed to be truly enraged. It opened its mouth full of fangs and roared at Dustless. Furthermore, a column of something similar to blood spurted out from its throat. The power of an ant. Seeing this, Dustless only laughed in disdain, and the corners of his dry mouth slightly opened. Binding Tao 81, sky-shattering. A transparent barrier as thin as a cicada's wing suddenly appeared in front of Dustless. Bang! Without a doubt, the thick beam of light hit the barrier. This barrier that seemed like it could be broken with a single stab was unexpectedly sturdy. It was still standing even after taking a blow from the terminating Seraph. This guy actually fought against the Seraph of Termination? Is this something humans can do? In the distance, Ike saw Katani, who had fled far away, had a look of uncertainty on her face. The Seraph of Terminus could easily destroy the world. Forget humans, not even vampires were a match for it. However, when it came to Dustless, it turned out to be a loser's counterattack. The human overpowered the Seraph of Terminus. Yo! Where do you want to go? Just as Ichiro, who was under the control of Ichiro Masaharu, thought that she could escape, an unexpected voice suddenly entered her ears. Who are you? The moment she noticed the appearance of this person, Ichiro's heart suddenly became restless and filled with uneasiness. This person was as beautiful as a fairy, a rare beauty. Even Ichiro, who was a woman, was secretly shocked. How could there be such a beautiful woman in this world? First, let me introduce myself. The mysterious person smiled faintly. Ichiro was dazed for a moment. If she were a man, she might really pursue this person. My name is Boa Hancock. I was sent by Lord Dustless to destroy you. This simple self-introduction sent Ichiro to the 18th level of hell. She felt extremely depressed. She could feel the invincibility of this person in front of her. On the other side, the battle between humans and insects in the sky was about to come to an end. Looking closely, this huge insect was already riddled with holes. Its whole body was full of holes. It was ravaged by Wu Chen. Bursts of wails were earth-shattering. It's about time to end it. Dustless quietly hovered in the void. At the same time, his right eye also changed. It turned into a blue and white eye. The black eyeball also disappeared and was replaced by an irregular round lace. It was extremely mysterious. In front of this eye, everything seemed insignificant. The creatures that were targeted by it all trembled in fear. A woo! A woo! Even the so-called Seraph of Termination was the same. It was still wailing. It no longer had the ferocity from before. Instead, it seemed like it was begging for mercy. However, Dustless didn't even look at it. His eyes were still like stagnant water. Only pure killing intent shot out. Tensigan Chakra Mode. Dustless gently closed his eyes. His expression was calm and steady. Immediately, his hands suddenly formed a few hand seals. His body actually emitted an emerald luster that covered his entire body. His appearance also changed drastically. The truth-seeking orb floated behind him. His originally cold eyes became even colder. Whether you can hear me clearly or not, I have to tell you that it's your fortune to die under this move. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24-23. Am I dreaming? That guy named Dustless is too powerful. He actually beat that monster until it bowed its head and admitted its mistake. Is this really reality? It feels like a hallucination. The state of the Seraph of Termination attracted the attention of many people. Everyone looked at the giant insect bowing its head and admitting its mistake, shaking its head and bending its legs slightly. Everyone felt that it was unbelievable. They couldn't even deal with the cocoon from this monster's body, but Dustless actually beat it until it bowed its head and admitted its mistake. The gap between people was too big. For a moment, all the vampires and humans were full of admiration for Dustless. Fortunately, I joined Dustless instead of challenging Dustless like that idiot Freed Bartlett. Otherwise, I would have died without a burial place. Oh well. The giant insect continued to wail, his hoarse voice begging for mercy, and his miserable appearance made people want to sympathize with him. But Dustless's heart was like a stone, extremely cold-blooded, and his calm eyes had no color fluctuations. Let alone letting him go, he didn't even have the basic sympathy. You only know fear when I take out my Tensigan? You want me to let you go? Now it's too late. Go repent in the hell. Dustless raised his right hand, and a fierce repulsive wave erupted from his palm. Bang! The powerful repulsive force directly hit the Seraph of Termination's body. The shell all over his body seemed to be made of plastic. It suddenly collapsed, and countless cracks appeared. Who allowed you to stand in the sky? Get down from here. The chakra in Dustless's body increased again, and a ripple of energy visible to the naked eye came out of his hand and rushed straight to the Seraph of Termination. Bang bang bang! After being hit by the repulsive force a few times, the hateful fat insect finally couldn't resist anymore, and was blasted from the sky to the ground by Dustless, smashing a deep pit. Tisk. TSK. This is too weak. I only got a little serious and it's already gone. Seeing the end of the battle, the blazing angel wailed on the ground. He tried to stand up a few times, but fell to the ground instead. Dustless also lost interest. His mind waning. He descended from the sky and appeared beside Krulu. Lord Dustless. When he saw Dustless, Kalyulu hurriedly lowered his head and used honorifics. Why didn't I see you being so obedient before? Dustless rolled his eyes and said indifferently, Soon I will leave this world. What's your choice? Leave? Krulu's heart trembled. She had long heard that Dustless would disappear, but she didn't know where he went. You can follow me, or you can refuse. Seeing the girl's hesitation, Dustless said, I won't force you. After all, you have your own life. After we leave, we will never return to this world. It can be said to be an eternal farewell. Just me and Lord Dustless? Krulu asked with some apprehension. Originally, there was also the 3 palaces, 3 leaves, and Chua Xiaoya, but I don't know where those 2 girls went. Dustless sighed faintly and said, I hope they will appear when I leave. Oh well. A furious roar filled with endless hatred shook the heavens. A visible ripple swept across the sky like a shockwave, spreading into the distance. Yo! Dustless grinned and looked at the dying big insect. He laughed and said, "We have underestimated this thing. This beast's vitality is very strong." Beast. Hearing this, Krulu was also speechless. The Seraph of Termination was a worm in Dustless's mouth. Even if it looked like a worm, it was still a godlike existence. Now, Dustless actually called someone else a beast. Could he not be so arrogant? Boom boom boom. The huge bug flapped its wings and soared high again. Violent wind and waves rushed out from its two wings. Its ugly eyes were scarlet, as if they were burning with raging flames. It looked down at Dustless from the sky, still holding a grudge. Just now, Dustless beat this thing up, so it probably hated him in its heart. "Don't worry, you don't have to look at me so fiercely. You will also die, and die without a burial place. Not even the remains of your corpse will be left." Dustless blinked his eyes, and the scarlet eternal kaleidoscope was exposed to the air. Those mysterious eyes were like black holes, and looking at them would cause one to sink into them. "Oh!" The huge insect opened its mouth again, and a thick black pillar came out, directly smashing towards Dustless. "Amaterasu!" Dustless coldly snorted, and the power of his eyes was twisted to the extreme. "Awa! Awa! Awoo!" The giant bug screamed again. He raised his head and looked. In the blink of an eye, his body was burning with black flames. The evil fire quickly dismembered his skin, followed by his flesh and blood, and then his internal organs. There was no exception. Even the black liquid that was about to hit Dustless was burned without a trace. Under Amaterasu, everything will be turned into ashes. From the beginning to the end, in just a few seconds, the Seraph of Termination, that is, the big flying insect, was burned to ashes, and even the bones were swept away by Amaterasu. It died just like that? The Seraph of Termination was easily destroyed in a snap of a finger. The shocked Krulu couldn't even speak, and looked at Dustless with eyes full of questions. That's probably it. Killing that insect and leaving its corpse? Amaterasu is not such a gentle ninjutsu. That guy has already disappeared without a trace. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24-24. After Dustless finished off the Seraph, Boa Hancock's battle also came to an end. Bang! Hancock stepped on Ike's Honren's chest, her eyes as cold as ice, and declared domineeringly, "Children's fight, how long are you going to continue? Show me your full strength." Hearing this, a helpless smile appeared on Ike's Honglotus's face. "How disappointing. That was my full strength. Even my ghost was beaten away by you." Just now, Kaijin Hiru was controlling Ike's Honren, but he was beaten away by Hancock, and Ike's Honren's consciousness was restored. There was a sense of helplessness in Ikane's Red Lotus words. She could not help but look up at the heavens and ask absent-mindedly, "Is the gap between me and Dustless that big? What did that guy do to deserve it?" Why? Bang! Who would have thought that before Ike's Honren could finish her nonsense, Hancock's foot swept over. The heel of her high heels directly blocked Ike's Honren's throat. "Don't get carried away. You want to be on equal footing with Lord Dustless? Do you know? You don't even have the qualifications to carry his shoes." Hancock smiled disdainfully and said sarcastically, 1,000 years ago, Dustless Sama was at the top of a planet. Now he is willing to put down his status and play with you ants. You should feel honored." Hancock sneered. Her beautiful and enchanting cheeks were full of ridicule. "You're about to die, yet you still dare to speak such arrogant words. From the beginning to the end, you've chosen the wrong opponent." Hancock said coldly, as Dustless Sama once said, "The biggest mistake of humans is not being weak, but being distracted." He didn't figure out who he should offend and who he shouldn't. "All in all, I only have one conclusion for your short life. You are blind." Hancock was disdainful. Dustless was a god in her heart. Ikane's Hong Lotus was overestimating herself if she thought she could defeat him. "My blazing angel of termination will definitely destroy that fellow." Ines Red Lotus shouted furiously. "That is the incarnation of God. It can destroy the world.
Really?
Hancock pursed her lips into a smile, and the seductive charm that flowed out of her was captivating. I forgot to tell you. During the 1,000 years that I've followed Lord Wu Chen, countless gods and planets have been destroyed by him. I can count them with 2 hands. Crack! As soon as she finished speaking, Hancock stepped on a Zaisonran's throat and broke it. This kind of ant was not qualified to talk about Dustless. A little mouse actually wanted to fight with the person who destroyed a planet, and even wanted to defeat him. Wasn't that too ridiculous? Hancock was done, and so was his death. What? I thought Dustless had found a good toy for me, but it turns out that it's just a one-time thing. To think that I thought I could torture him forever. TSK, how disappointing. In the torture room full of blood, this was used by vampires to extort confessions from the Emperor Ghost Army. But now the roles were changed, and it was Death who tortured Freed and Crowley. Quick, kill me quickly. On the cross, Freed's body was already riddled with holes. It was a horrible sight to behold, and his chest was a mess of flesh and blood. However, this was not the most horrible thing. Freed's feet were cut off and placed on the stove respectively. The fire was not very big, so it would not burn his 2 legs, but the pain was unbearable. As for the 2 arms, they were placed in a sealed jar. They were smeared with honey and stuffed with a large number of ants. All of them were slowly tearing at Freed's flesh. As for his head, it was also cut off and soaked in salt water. Such a horrible punishment. Only people like Death could think of it. Not only Freed, but Crowley was also tortured like this. He was tortured to death. How do you feel? Is it unforgettable? Death put her hands on her waist, her long blue hair reached her calves, she held her head high, her hot cleavage was high, and the leather clothes were tight, it could burst at any time. You demon! Crowley's eyes were dirty and he said weakly. If you have the guts, just kill me directly, I won't even blink, damn woman. Hey, you have a backbone, I just like such a stubborn temper. Death smiled cruelly, her soul-stirring cheeks flashed a touch of madness. It's over, it's over, it's over. Seeing Death's expression, Crowley immediately regretted, and Freed showed sympathy. He had seen that Death and Dustless belonged to the same kind of people. She was only interested in the prey that resisted. Have a good experience. Death held an iron spoon in her hand, swirling the red liquid, and poured it all on Crowley's head. Ah! A scream like a pig being slaughtered suddenly came out. The painful howl was full of endless regret. If he knew this, he would not have challenged Death. That was lava. You can't stand it? Trash, this is the torture that you vampires use on humans. I didn't even use my own tricks. Death was full of contempt. This torture room was originally a vampire's. It was usually used to torture the Emperor Ghost Army to obtain useful information. Ah! Let's stop here, it's time for us to leave. Dustless suddenly came out of the dark corridor. Behind him, Hancock was like a little follower. Poochie! 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 Dustless glanced at Freed and Crowley lightly. He took a Juruo pill in his hand and cut their heads one after another. They were turned into ashes. Before leaving, the 2 sincerely said thank you. Compared with his death, Dustless was simply an angel. At least he would not use such torture as knee-digging and dismembering. Chapter 24-25. By the way, her star-like bright eyes blinked slightly. Death held her chin with her hand and said, I forgot to tell you. I just found 2 little girls. They said they knew you. They seem to be called Sangong Sanya and Ran Xiaoya. That's good. Hearing that, Wu Chen finally let out a sigh of relief. His heart had always been concerned about the 2 girls. Sir Dustless, are you done with the trivial matters? Hancock, who was standing on the side, asked abruptly. Her eyes were filled with a lovely smile, and her cheeks were puffed up. The faint feeling of seduction was very appetizing. Of course. Death nodded immediately and looked at Dustless. Ahem. Noticing the changes in the expressions of the 2 women, Dustless coughed awkwardly and suddenly understood the thoughts of the 2. He waved to Krulu and said, I have something to say to the 2 of them. You can leave here for a while. Krulu looked at Dustless with surprise, and immediately glanced at Death and Hancock from the corner of her eyes. Finally, she nodded slightly and left. Hoo hoo hoo. On the deserted roof the cold wind whistled. Krulu's coat was blown high, and her snow-white legs were exposed. Krulu's eyes looked at the distant sky in a daze. Those two women. Where did they come from? They seem to be very familiar with Sir Dustless. Their relationship must not be ordinary. And they are so beautiful. Krulu's mind was full of Hancock and his death. At this moment, Her Majesty Queen was in a daze with an inexplicable melancholy. After all, she had lived for thousands of years. Krulu's experience was beyond doubt. Although her strength was not as good as Hancock and his death, her experience was much more than the two women. What Dustless said just now, Krulu naturally understood what it meant. Don't hide, come out. After being silent for a short while, Krulu suddenly opened his dry mouth. You want to know who the two women are, right? Actually, I don't know either. It's fine that she's so beautiful, but she's so strong that she's unreliable. Damn God, sometimes it's really unfair. After Krulu said this, two figures walked up the stairs to the roof. The two women looked at each other. It was San Gong, San Yi, and San Xiaoya. The two girls were humans, while Krulu was a vampire. If it was in the past, it would have been a bloody battle. However, in this world, both humans and vampires had been destroyed one after another. The hatred between the two races had also disappeared. That makes sense. The three palaces, 3 leaves, and Swan Xiaoya nodded in agreement. Jealousy is useless. Those two women are different. Apart from being beautiful, they are also very strong. As you can see, Lord Dustless trusts them very much. Krulu's beautiful eyes couldn't help but dim. In terms of beauty, she thought that she was not inferior to Hancock and his death, but the key was that she lost in strength. When the gap in strength was big, there was a gap in temperament in all aspects. In front of Hancock and his death, Krulu always felt a little ashamed. Of course, this was only in terms of strength. On the other side, Dustless also opened his eyes from a drunken stupor. This is really a bad habit. After a long time, you can annihilate yourself, forget your dreams, and easily make mistakes. Femme fatale is not wrong at all. In the warm cup, Dustless looked up at the ceiling and muttered to himself. At this moment, he enjoyed the blessing of having two women. Hancock and his death were nestled on his left and right sides, and their heads were on Dustless's shoulders. The three of them were naked, and their clothes didn't cover their bodies. Hancock and his death's delicate and pretty faces were still blushing as if they were drunk. People with sharp eyes could also catch the satisfaction in the eyes of the two women. It was self-evident what they had just experienced. You are really a playboy. You have a group of beautiful wives at home, and you are still fooling around outside. His death stared at Dustless with dissatisfaction, and at the same time, pinched his waist. Although Hancock didn't act like his death, she also snorted. You can't say that. Dustless was indifferent and explained faintly. First of all, they are still virgins. I didn't do anything out of the ordinary. They are willing to follow me. Isn't it because of your flowery words that deceived our sisters? Hancock rolled her eyes. She had a deep understanding of Dustless's despicable, shameless, and insidious nature. This time, it's not my fault. Instead, it's your appearance that stimulated their competitiveness. Dustless's eyes flashed with a wisp of wisdom, and he calmly explained, women are very complicated creatures. When they see beautiful things they want to compete. For example, the appearance of you two, your perfection made them see their flaws, so it also stimulated their competitiveness. Originally, they didn't want to go with me. As a result, when they saw the strength of you two, they also had the desire to become stronger, so they chose to follow me. After all, it's all your fault. I didn't want to attract women, but the appearance of you two caused me to fall into the fire pit. Dustless. Your shamelessness has refreshed my understanding. That kind of cute little girl is around you. Is it also called falling into the fire pit? His death was speechless on Dustless's chest. This guy is really getting more and more shameless. Of course, after all, I am a person who is loyal to marriage. Dustless said calmly without blushing. The two women couldn't wait to beat this guy. You have a group of wives and concubines. How dare you say that you are loyal to marriage? Chapter 24-26. Forget it, you are used to being free. We can't stop you. But Dustless, you have to remember one thing. Don't do anything wrong to others. I can see that the three girls care about you very much and treat you as a support. Isteth looked at Dustless seriously with a little warning. They are all very cute. Boa Hancock also nodded and agreed. Do you two know how to talk? Am I that kind of ruthless person? Dustless's face was extremely strange, especially when Isteth just said that he was a ruthless scum. Let's change the topic. Since the things that should be solved have been solved, then let's leave. After putting on his pajamas, Dustless went to the window and looked at the world full of ruins. After a while he shook his head and said, "It's too boring." In the next day, Dustless gave a lot of time to Mia, San, Klulu, and Yu Xiaoya. They still had some trivial things to deal with, especially Yu Xiaoya. Although the Yu family was destroyed, there were still some people who escaped the attack of Ike's Hanren, but Yu Xiaoya didn't have a good impression of them. After that, she went to burn a few incense sticks for Yu Tianli, and then left with Dustless. After that, Dustless and the rest vanished from this world without a trace. Under the blue sky, the pedestrians on the road hurried away. Everyone's expression was busy. People's long life was like this. After getting married and having children, they had to think about the future, and their career was getting busier and busier. However, there were exceptions. On a bench in a park, a young man was sitting with a tangled face. He looked very lazy and had no fighting spirit. It's really a bad year. How can I travel to such a strange world? There is no market for men. It's just a group of women fighting with Nova. Are you kidding me? Dustless looked up at the sky. His expression was a little bitter. After experiencing so many worlds, it was the first time that he traveled to such a special planet. It seems to be called the world of 0-degree warrior. Dustless muttered to himself. Just as he was pondering, a golden-haired little brat suddenly walked over and berated, "Hey, you're my servant from now on." This kid had a cute appearance. He was not old, estimated to be at most 5 or 6 years old. He was dressed well. At first glance, he was the young master of a big family. At this moment, the child looked at Dustless with an arrogant and proud face. Wu Chen didn't say anything and just looked at him quietly. He was just a child. There was no need to argue with him. The reason why this child wanted Wu Chen to be his servant was that he had just beaten up a few hooligans who were looking for trouble. This kid happened to see it, so he followed him all the way. Let's go and eat something. Disinclined to talk nonsense, Wu Chen left directly. Stop right there. Do you know who I am? The golden-haired child saw that he was being ignored and immediately said angrily, "I'm the eldest son of Bridget's family. Watch your attitude. If you don't obey me, I can break your legs at any time." Dustless family? After hearing this family, Dustless suddenly stopped in his tracks. A terrifying murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He stared at the kid carefully and asked indifferently, "Then I will go with you. Bring me to your family now." The reason why he agreed to go to this kid's family was naturally to get rid of this disgusting family. Dustless didn't have a good impression of them at all. "Humph, I thought you had a lot of integrity. It turns out that you're just a money-grubbing trash. Ha ha ha. Sure enough, money is the best medicine for everything." The golden-haired brat curled his lips and sneered. He didn't notice Wu Chen's coldness. "Bumping into me only means that your family has reached a certain level." Dustless sneered in his heart. He looked at the kid and asked, "Are you called Louis L. Dustless?" "Ha ha ha, you know me?" The kid was stunned. Then he laughed proudly and said, "I didn't expect to be so famous at such a young age. Ha ha ha. What AF asterisk king retard." Dustless lowered his head and looked at the kid. He wanted to kill him more and more. The world was so big, but they had to meet in such a small place. All this showed that this kid deserved to die. "My name is Dustless. Bring me to your family quickly." Dustless urged impatiently. "Let me, a country bumpkin who has never seen the world, see a little of what a rich family is like." Okay. Then I will open your eyes. You country bumpkin, don't be scared." Louis nodded lightly. Soon, a group of men in black ran over and surrounded him. They were probably Louis's bodyguards. Then, a few black luxury cars drove over. Dustless and Louis sat in the same car. Hey. Can you teach me the move you used just now? How much is it? Name a price. I may be young, but my father is very rich. He can buy the whole world." Louis introduced arrogantly. I will teach you when we get to your house. Dustless replied casually. He kept looking at the scenery outside the window. He would destroy this family later as a punishment for evil and a reward for good. Ha! With your skills, that stupid sister of mine will definitely obey. If she dares to disobey me, I will make her and her mother my slaves. Louis laughed crazily. His eyes were full of lust. However, it was his casual words that attracted Dustless's attention. Tell me about your sister. Dustless asked in boredom. I can teach you a very powerful move. You can fight 100 people at once. Really? Louis L. Dustless said happily. Okay. My sister just came yesterday. She seems to be my father's affair partner. Her name is Chataliza L. Dustless. But you're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.